Welcome to SOS Cinema. My name is Nicholas Pisconti.
And I'm Andrew Seelig.
And I'm Stephen Dwyer.
Today we're going to be delving into St. Elmo's Fire and just kind of having a quick discussion about that. Not quick, but just going into it.
So the movie came out in 1985. It was about a group of 6 or 7?
Seven
friends.
Recent graduate college students, and it's about their struggles in the real world.
Yeah, it's the were they the Brat Pack?
The Brat Pack, yeah, those
The Rat Pack, I thought.
Emilio
The Rat Pack
Estevez,
was
Rob
Frank
Lowe, and
Sinatra.
all them.
Oh.
But yeah.
Was it? I wonder. Was that the last movie they made? Because I feel like this was basically like the Breakfast Club, but aged up. To
Yeah,
kids
I was
graduating
looking
high
at
school.
There were a few other ones. I forget the name of them. But also,
Oh yeah,
it was
16
interesting.
Candles.
Breakfast Club came out in 1985, and this one came out the same year, 6 months later. So they aged pretty fast.
Really?
Yeah.
I also, just doing my own research, it's kind of funny. So St. Elmo's Bar is actually based on a real bar in Georgetown, in that college area. It's called the Tombs. And because of the movie, totally solidified the bars, now it's a staple.
Legendary.
Yeah, it was kind of a dive type bar, but it's kind of one of those places now. It's crazy popular.
I wonder, do you think they play that song at the bar every night?
I hope so, honestly.
I really hope so, too.
If I went there and I didn't hear that song, I'd be kind of sad. You know?
That song is so fire. And let me just tell everyone, that
No
song
pun
is called
intended.
Man of Motion.
Okay.
St. Elmo's Fire. And yeah, that song is really good, especially after you watch the movie. And if you haven't watched the movie, you definitely should watch the movie before you watch this podcast or listen to the podcast, because
Definitely.
that's the whole point of the podcast.
There'll be some spoilers for sure.
Yeah.
Just a quick little note. Yeah, I think, honestly, starting with the music, I think that's one of the biggest things for me. The music was produced by, I forget their names, but anyways, the music that was produced in this, in the movie, genuinely, I think was, fire. There was no bad song in that movie. And I think that's, something that's not really, a thing with newer movies. You don't really,
They played Respect by Aretha Franklin, which is really cool. I love that song.
yeah, it's
And
pretty
just
gas.
a lot of the scores, just classic 80s music.
Yeah.
Saxophone just
man.
blaring.
Oh, hell yeah.
We got to bring the sax back.
Sax is sexy.
Facts.
Premarital sax, baby.
Oh, also, at the beginning of the movie on the bar, I really loved. I noticed it the second time I watched the movie. The very first scene when they're all walking around the bar, or when they get back to the bar after
The DUI.
the hospital. Yeah, they're in the bar and Kirby, Emilio Estevez, comes back with them, and he's in his uniform still, and he walks in and his boss is like, "Where were you? Why didn't you tell me you were leaving?" And Kirby just looks at me, he's like, "What are you gonna do, fire me?" You can just tell he literally spent the last 4.5 years just at this bar.
Definitely. Well, I think that's such an 80s vibe thing too, because even that intro scene, and I don't know whether that's just a movie thing, but when Billy gets the DUI, no one in that friend group even acts like that's a serious
That's
thing.
what I was saying. That's what I was looking up when I was watching the movie. Billy, was the biggest degenerate, and
Yeah.
I feel in the 80s it was oh whatever, but now oh my god, he.
Nothing he did in that movie would be
Yeah,
be able to fly.
And I thought his
Cancel
character
That goes for a
Rob Lowe.
lot of characters in the movie. A lot of the stuff that they do would be cancel
Yeah.
worthy, or just would not be able to be okay.
I really
society.
liked Billy in the first time I watched it. The second time I watched it, I realized, but I really liked how his whole vibe was My favorite quote by him was he was "Oh, school so out of hand. I wish in the real world you can't be out of hand. You gotta follow policy and rules." And I like that vibe about him. But besides that one scene on the roof when he's talking about how he missed college,
Yeah.
I really didn't like him.
So it's interesting too. So after watching it again, in the way you just said that you didn't like him after watching it, my perspective on him actually really changed, because looking at his life in the movie, he's as you can see, a total degenerate, and his life is going wrong in so many ways. And I think it's just kind of funny because at one point in the movie you really see when he's going back home to his wife and daughter, and he's with
Was it the scene with Jules?
he's in the car with Jules, yeah, and things get really out of hand there.
Quite.
That's kind of
no
that's
pun intended.
yeah.
Everything's out of hand and
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. When that happens, I don't know if you guys agree, but I think that's the turning point in the movie where all their friendships kind of start going downhill.
Yeah.
I think Billy kind of does it to himself in a way, but I also think that Billy's also the glue of the whole group in a certain way, because
feel
Billy's
that.
the one to break
I
into
feel
Jules'
that.
place. He gets her to talks her off the ledge, And the one quote from him that really sticks out to me is when he's talking to Jules and he goes, It's St. Elmo's fire. Electric flashes in the sky that appear in darkness that appear nowhere. And he's like, it's all fake. You're making this up like yourself with that stuff. And it's like, for like this guy who like can't have like, it doesn't have any control over his own life, for him to be like this guru for everyone else's lives.
He's got the charisma.
Yeah.
And that was a major
out the wazoo.
Yeah, that was a major breaking of the fourth wall. He goes, "We're all going through this." And he looked it right in the camera. I was like, "Whoa!" Kind of spooked out. But I don't think his character arc was that good because, like, he acted like he was like, "Oh, mom, like, I need to change." Like, you know, when he was at the frat and he was like, "Yo, like, I need a job," and they're like, "Oh, we need someone to get the drugs," and he like felt sad about that. Like, damn, I gotta make myself a better person.
Yeah.
But like the last two things he did in the movie where he was saying goodbye to his friend, and all he wanted was her virginity, which is kind of weird. Like, I feel like that kind of was on par with what he's been doing the entire time. It's all about sex for him, and then
and he was trying to be full circle with it, I guess.
I think maybe he was also kind of self-sabotaging because I think at that point he was trying to go out of his own way to do better, and like the people that he was trying to like get encouragement from were also kind of not supporting him, so he kind of fell back into that mindset maybe.
Yeah, then he like left. Like, I mean, I guess. What do you think about his when he left the family? Because he didn't want to confuse the kid or like.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a bad thing. And down the line, he probably, if we're talking like about reality, like he probably would have gone back to see the kid eventually.
Right.
But he just knows that like right now he's clearly not mature enough to be there for her.
Which is true, and I mean, also I feel like his wife and the kid, like although they were like characters in the movie, I kind of feel like they were kind of just like, thrown in there. Like we don't really meet the wife until like the second half of the movie in the bar.
Yeah, the Halloween party.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Which is also another scene where it's kind of like the turning pivotal point too, because the Halloween scene is that when Kevin and Leslie get together?
That's so Alec proposed and Leslie found out that he was cheating, and then Kevin.
Oh no, that wasn't Halloween. That was when Kirby had
the party.
At Kim's house, at Mr. Kim's house.
Yes.
I think that first of all, I want to go back into Kevin a little bit. I think Kevin is by far the worst character in the movie. He's irredeemable. He was. I thought he was a complete incel. He was smart ass, pretentious. Like
I totally disagree,
really?
But I want to hear. I want to hear why. I want to hear why because I have such a different viewpoint.
Well, I think the part with Kevin that really irked me was when, like, after he gets with Leslie, and then like she moves in with Jules, and he's hanging out at their apartment like all the time, and he's like, we should get a place together when it's been like a week. Yeah, and they've literally hooked up like 3 times.
And he was mad hypocritical because.
Yeah, then like Alec called and he's like, "Tell him we're moving in together."
My God. Yeah, he was mad hypocritical.
Like, dude, what are you doing?
I don't believe in love. I don't believe in marriage. And then, like, he was the first time he had an opportunity with the girl. He just like, "Oh, I love you so much," and it was his best friend. He like screwed him over.
But I think it was different because in the movie, like they even make it clear they all went to the same college, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's one point in the scene where Leslie says to Kevin, and she's like, "Could you imagine if I like lived in a different dorm?" Something like that.
Yeah,
never met Alec.
Like, yeah.
And then Kevin, you can see a little bit, like if you look at Kevin through each of the scenes where he's with Alec and Leslie, he's like the little things that Alec does, you can see set him off. But I think he says the stuff where he's like, I don't believe in love and all this stuff is because he's been so madly in love with Leslie from the start. But I think he's also just genuinely a really good friend where he doesn't want to ruin Alec's relationship because he respects Alec. And he realized that Alec's with the girl of his dreams, whatever.
So you think it was a breaking point and it was like...
But yeah. And I think he found his moment to step in because he was comforting Leslie anyways, and Leslie's the one that came across the pictures. And it's like, do you remember? Because she was like, one of your props too? And like, you couldn't really answer, but like, you can tell like he's had those pictures probably since like college or whatever. Like, he's just been like dreaming about this girl, you know?
He wasn't like really trying to, but then like it just got to a certain point where he had to tell her.
Right.
Like how he felt.
Exactly.
I just thought he was a little...
And he also doesn't even tell Leslie about Alec cheating. Like Alec tells Kevin about this, and Kevin keeps his mouth shut. Like any like backstabber would have been like, Leslie, like
that's
your dude's cheating.
That's a good point.
You know?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess like the fact that
he stayed true.
If Alec didn't cheat on her, I would say he's a lot worse. But yeah, I guess like Alec kind of had it coming because I guess he really loved Leslie, and he didn't like the way Alec was treating her. So like I guess maybe he was kind of resentful of him.
I really feel like all 7 characters are just deeply flawed.
I completely agree. They're all super relatable in some way too.
Yeah,
I honestly like.
They are.
I don't know if you guys could agree with this, but I kind of related them to like the 7 sins. At least the guys a little bit. And like,
Who's who?
I would say like Alec is greed and pride. Maybe I say that because like
And lust.
because he has a job. What I said Billy was lust. So I say Alec's
true.
greed and pride because like he's got the girl, he's got the job. They're obviously living in a pretty nice place. But yeah, he wants more. He's got to sleep with the other like girl that's attractive, like putting on the stuff. Is never really like satisfied. He's like, I'll be faithful when she's ready to settle down. Like clearly he's using excuses, whatever. Then I said Kevin himself was like self-pity and like pride. Because I think Kevin has like this own like pride about him where he's like, he's sticking to his morals, and that's why he's like he doesn't go after any other girl or whatever. And I think that's also why he ends up sleeping with her and then like going crazy over the edge and like she's mine now, like let's move in together type shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I said Billy was lust obviously because he's like sleeping around all the time. But yeah, I don't know. Kirby's the only like weird character where like Kirby in my opinion is weird because he's like the like most relatable like ever like likable character.
Yeah.
But if you look at his actions,
He's super
like low-key
creepy.
the
He's
weirdest
half
kid
He would have
ever.
a mad restraining order on him.
Yes.
Oh my
But
God.
I think his
It's so
primary
funny.
point of the movie was just like the comic relief. I think. I don't think he had any like major like. His plot was like the fun plot. Like
Yeah.
he had the guy. Like he had the.
The stalking.
Yeah. No. I know, but like.
But yeah.
That was also interesting to me, like how like I wonder if that was just like a movie thing or
Yeah.
like if that was like something in like the 80s where like phones weren't really a big thing, so like it wasn't like I don't know. It was
I
like,
think it was.
you can stalk people.
I
on
think in
social
real
media.
Like,
world.
I got her hospital schedule.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
that was so
really weird.
sus.
I think that it was really in any. You cannot relate it to reality at all. If that was anywhere real, it'd be like the worst thing ever.
Yeah,
That's how the movie was like really like raw. I thought.
I think there's like a lot. Of, I don't know. I mean, I think 80s movies in general is like try to like make
Yeah.
the times seem a lot better than they were, maybe.
Yeah.
Or like
sure.
glorify the times.
Yeah.
Which is like a really interesting aspect because they do it with this movie too. Like even all the mess ups with the movie, like I don't know, like you know what I mean. Like it makes you like want to go back to that time and like live through that time period.
I
in a
thought
way.
the funny part of the movie was when what's his name Kirby kissed Dale
Yes. At
And-
the ski house. Yeah.
and the guy goes like, honey, I'll get a camera and we'll take a picture of you guys. And then he walks into the house, gets the camera, he kisses her like passionately, and she like loves it. And he just takes a picture of the guys.
And he puts his arm around her. He's like got this
He's like-
smile on his
He's
face.
like completely oblivious. Like, oh, that's so funny.
It's also interesting too that was like all Kirby needed to like be chilling.
yeah.
know?
He was more
Going
like,
back,
it was
he's
like
"Alright,
it was like a.
I'm going back to law school.
Exactly. It's
Just
more
a
like a little
challenge.
kid crush. Yeah.
Oh, I also love the part where he's at the restaurant when he like first tried to meet her for the dinner, and he goes, "This is a table for 4," and he goes, "Then I'll play double."
Yeah.
Doesn't have a job.
Like, I couldn't imagine like the level of like just like not giving a shit.
Also, I want to know like where their money is coming from. Like, obviously, they went to good schools. They went to Georgetown, or whatever. Some of his
Yeah.
parents probably came from money. We see with Wendy, her dad's like super rich. Has a
Yeah,
car
and she
company.
works at a charity too.
Right.
No, she did like human resources.
All right, who was the charity person?
She was kind of. She worked at the food bank.
Was that volunteer?
No, like she was doing like welfare stuff
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of
as
both.
a job.
Also, speaking of the girls, I don't know if you guys touched on this and like while you guys were reading or watching it, but I thought it was really interesting the character arcs between genders, where the guys in the movie it's all about like finding their place in life, finding their job, finding like happiness, you know, and for the most part, the girls in the movie and Jules and Leslie for the most part are more so like this.
Yeah.
But it's when am I gonna find my guy to marry and settle down with? And Wendy's actually the only one who's like breaking from that stereotype of the
Yeah.
times and is like, I don't need a man to be happy.
She's
I'm
like,
working.
I want
on this.
my
But I thought it was
own
cool.
place.
Yeah,
I want to make my own peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
yeah. It tastes so much better when you're living on your own.
And Leslie kind of figured that out towards the end of the movie, which is kind of her like her
Big
her
movie.
theme of her stuff, her character. But I think Jules was kind of not. I think her whole thing was like taken. It's kind of a whole like facade about I'm like the fun girl and like I love having fun. But she was like really hurt because like her stepmother was dying and like she never like talked to her
Mhm.
Right.
until like she was dying and like the whole thing was like a complete facade for her. And but she was really going through it and like she had a major coke problem. And it was weird how they showed that. I feel like not weird how they showed it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the movie was raw.
80s movies
Yeah.
like displayed
Like it was very
drugs.
raw. They just showed a bunch of coke
Right.
and
I wonder what they use in the movies like for stuff like that. Like I wonder
probably
back then
baking
like
powder. I bet
baby powder. Yeah.
bacon maybe. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, not coke or just real coke.
Or just real coke. Yeah, they're just
Yeah.
like full sending it. But yeah,
I really liked just like random detail how like her